Hey everybody, welcome back to the PetaPixel Podcast. I am joined by my friend Chris Nichols.
What are you doing?
Yeah, you have to talk. Some people use this in audio
it's
format.
me, I'm here.
And also Jaron Schneider,
Apparently, I also need to go.
who knows how to talk into a microphone while
This is
also
how you do proper
making
mic
crazy
placement.
faces.
It's very important. You have to...
Oh, absolutely. You got to get like right on top of that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if that intro wasn't weird enough, we got a weird podcast for you all today because we're kind of dividing it up into like 3 acts. We're going to have a little conversation about a shoot we did in Alaska, now that we can actually reveal that we shot that on a Fujifilm Eterna medium format movie camera. We're going to talk a little bit from Apple Park about the new iPhone. We were able to record that in their lovely studio. And Jaron's going to talk to a cinematographer about their experiences using the Eterna as well. Yeah. And it's all going to get just like truncated. It's going to be a real like NPR, This American Life kind of episode in 3 acts.
It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating.
Absolutely.
You guys want to
Lots
listen
of
to
cool
this one.
stuff. So much we haven't been able to talk about has gone on in between.
It's been a big secret.
Absolutely. But I always like to kick things off with a question, as you all know. So we're heading off to Apple Park.
Well, you guys
Apple
are.
has been
What's
Chris
our
and I,
favorite fruit?
absolutely. We've done that one already. I want to know, what was the first Apple product you ever owned? I got to go way back for this one.
I mean, mine's easy because I was a holdout. I would even say I was anti-Apple, to be honest with you. I thought you guys were part of a cult. I still do think so.
At the camera store, I remember you were outright belligerent when I would use Apple products.
I'm a hardcore Android man, and I still really like Android phones. And I only switched over to Apple. So the first Apple, I didn't get like a Nano. I didn't have an iPod Touch. None of that stuff. Certainly didn't have an iPhone. The first iPhone that I got would have been, I don't know, probably a few years ago. It was an iPhone 13. I don't know, 14, 13. It was under duress. Actually, it was at the start of PetaPixel. You guys were like, Chris, you need to get an Apple product. We need you to use the iPhone for work. We're tired of like all the issues sending files. I just want to airdrop. And so you guys forced me into using an iPhone. And it's fine. I like it now. It's fine. And I'm stuck in this cult and I can't escape. So I'm going to make a documentary about it 10 years from now, my escape from the cult.
What's your relationship with that now, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's a phone. It's a phone. I like the photos, but I like what Android phones do too. Everything seems to work fine. Like, I don't notice that much of a difference in my daily life from before the Android to now, other than you guys stop bugging me about it all the time. Like the amount of complaints on your guys' end has gone down 100% in terms of like airdropping. So
yeah, now I have nothing to complain about anymore.
So really it improved your quality of life mostly and mine a little bit, but that's it. I mean, it's a phone. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to use Apple AirPods. I think they look silly in your ears. Got the Googles right now. They kind of look silly too. Yeah, there you go. But, they're products. They're good. They're fine.
Hi, Jaron.
They do things.
You want to know what
What's yours?
I have a feeling you would not guess this. I want you to try. What do you think my first Apple product was?
I'm going to say an iPod, like an old school hard drive one.
Never had an iPod.
What? You missed out. Clicky click.
Listening to music was frowned upon when I was growing up, unless it was classical.
Wow. Interesting.
That should have been the real question. Who's your favorite composer? Detour.
Turns out Jaron actually grew up in a cult for real.
Chopin and Mozart, actually. Yeah. Not
man.
particularly unusual. I don't like Haydn, and I find Bach to be very harsh on the ears.
What?
Yeah.
So if it's not an
Bach's
iPod,
the worst.
What do you think?
Bach's great, dude.
I am going to say
Some
an
Eric's
iMac, one of the colorful ones.
I used those quite a bit in high school, but I did not own one. My very first computer I actually bought from the computer. I think actually maybe it was free because they were giving them away because they were replacing them with those colorful iMacs. I was given a Macintosh SE from my school. Like they were giving them away. It's like those PowerPC looking things, all-in-ones. Yeah. I put one of those in my office. It took floppy disks, which we still had access to at the school too. So if I was writing a paper, I could write it at home on this thing and then bring it in and pop it into the floppy disk reader at the computer lab and print that out. So yeah, my very first owned Apple product was a Macintosh SE, circa like 1990.
What'd you use that for? Were you like
writing.
doing layout? Oh, just writing. Okay.
Just writing. Yeah, like just essentially.
You strike me as a yearbook kid. So
I did actually. So I.
Yes.
Wow, I don't know if I should be offended or not, but I was the editor-in-chief of the yearbook for 2 years, and I was also the editor-in-chief of the newspaper at my school for 2 years. But
Was that sorry, were those like the beige ones? Like it's all one piece with like a blue screen?
The screen isn't blue. I wouldn't.
Was it color?
No, it was black and white. Like
Black and white, yeah, okay.
Didn't do colors.
I think that was the first. I used one of those at school too.
Yeah, my school had some left over. Like it was very clearly not the common computer use. That's the one you would use if
like
the lab
early
was full.
90s. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Use that. Bad
I
boy
played with those when they were state of the art in school. So that's the difference. Yeah.
There was one software that I remember that was not like just a word processor that I used, and it was called Mug Maker. And you could create from a bunch of faces to create like mug shots of weird people that were just like built in. So it was like randomizer. It's the Mug Maker. Chris knows it. Chris is like, yeah,
I do know.
I've never heard of Mug Maker.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, and maybe like load up some Zork if you're lucky.
I don't think mine had Zork. That doesn't sound familiar.
Dude.
But yeah, my very first product was a computer, and I actually did not own an Apple product after that until, because in college I had a Toshiba laptop, a satellite laptop. I had a Droid. The original Droid phone was my first smartphone. I had the Verizon
Nerd.
Or it's the LG Voyager is what it was called. It was like this kind of a larger phone with that flip up and a keyboard underneath it. But I was real good at T9 Word back in the day. So
wow.
Oh, same.
What about you, Jordan?
Mine, it's kind of interesting because I made two potentially terrible decisions when I was younger that actually paid off brilliantly for my life right now. When I was in grade 12, my parents kind of gave me the option, like, look, we'll either pay for a trip to Europe that the school was going on, or you can buy that video camera you keep asking about. I picked the video camera. And then a few years later, Mom and Dad were like, look, we've got like this old vehicle, we could sell it, or you could take it, or we could get you a computer, because I know you've been doing some video work. I was editing on my buddy Tyler Hauser, shout out to a longtime collaborator there. I was using his iMac. He was not thrilled with this arrangement, I don't believe. So I said, you know what? I'm taking the bus to and from work. Let's go with the PowerBook 17 Titanium that could run Final Cut 6.
Whoa.
And it was enormous. It weighed... I mean, bags didn't fit it properly. It was a chunky boy, but it got me started. And actually, that was the first time I was editing myself, got me started on this creative path. And I was using that right up until I met Chris, actually.
So every time you tell me that you like complain to me that you're stuck in your editing office on the computer looking at my face all day, you chose that life on purpose.
I did. I picked it twice.
You avoided adventure and escape to sit at home on a computer and edit. Okay, I just want to make
the way that
turned
I
out
see this
brilliantly.
is that Jordan was not interested in short-term gain. He's interested in long-term plans.
That's
so
right.
He decided I will forego having fun now because in the future I will not regret this.
No, there was actually a point where making regular videos was the most fun thing I could imagine in my life.
Right.
How far we've come.
Wow.
I'm sure it had nothing to do with wanting to look at pornography on Tyler Hauser's computer all the time.
Why is that always where your head goes? It's always that.
We can never make it to the intro.
We're sexual beings. Human beings are sexual beings.
So that CD disc drive in the front there, that's kind of neat. I've actually never seen one of these before. I don't.
Oh, you got him intrigued.
I think Chris knows what happened to that computer. Do you recall, Chris?
Didn't the battery explode or something? I don't know.
That was later.
Yeah, okay, but that did happen. Okay.
different computer. No, we went to Eastern Canada. No, we went to Eastern Canada, met up with a friend of Evelyn's, my wife, and we threw it in the trunk. And they had one of those old-timey, like a swingy bar when you close the trunk. The laptop got jammed in it, and it folded it into the shape of the letter U. So the next morning, I was like, let's watch a movie this morning while we're getting ready. And I pulled out this banana-shaped computer.
That is an incredibly Jordan Drake story.
Yeah.
Like, you having bent something into a shape it's not supposed to be in is a regular occurrence in your life.
All right.
I think we should start the show.
No, I'm thinking about other situations.
Okay, so before we start the show, last bit of information for those listening still through that thing, what we just did. So as a recap, we're going to keep going here. We're going to talk a little bit about shooting on the Eterna in Alaska. Then we're going to transition to me talking with a director of photography who actually shot with the Eterna a couple of weeks before we did, but he actually prepped in the same location we did in Portland because they shot in Cannon Beach, which is kind of interesting. And then we'll transition to Chris and Jordan playing us out, ending the show in Apple Park. So, all right, now that you know how this is going to go, now we can get started.
Okay, if you've been watching our show for a while, you know that I am a huge fan of Audiio. They've been a sponsor of the show for quite a while. I've been using all of their music, and it's been great. Not just because they have an awesome selection of music, but they have all kinds of tools that'll let you kind of quickly find things you were looking for or even change them completely. And that's why they have stems. And stems are really cool because let's say I'm doing a video and I'm like, oh, I really like this song, but it's got vocals on it. Or like, oh, I don't really want that drum beat on it. I want to kind of split that apart. And they did offer stems on some of their music tracks before, but they have hugely expanded it with the Elements 2.0 that they are introducing right now. So if you're using these, you can select, hey, I'd like to isolate the strings or remove the strings from this, drums, guitar, all of that kind of stuff. You can break it up and actually create like an original piece of music that fits the exact theme that you're working for in your video. And they've also expanded it because previously it was limited to some select things. They've dramatically expanded which music you can apply this to now. So if before you were like, oh, I'd like to just isolate the guitar from this one song that wasn't available before. Well, hey, maybe it's time to jump back in and check that out. So it really does let you customize things, kind of like having your own composer there where you can say, hey, I just want this or I don't want this in your music tracks. So you might want to try that out, right, Jaron? People should try that out.
That sounds cool.
When I was writing a news story about this, the thing that I remind myself is like actually creating a loop. Even if you don't separate the stems, creating a loop of music is sometimes incredibly tedious if it's not offered by them. Like I have to go down to each individual beat frame and try and find where it actually will dip and come back. I have very distinct memories of doing this for corporations when I was doing videos for them. When I needed it to last just a little bit longer, so I had to spend like 30 to 45 minutes perfectly looping this one little section of the track.
I hit the mark button on the one of every note. That's how I've historically had to do this. And then you try and line them up afterwards to extend them. And
visually,
it's the worst.
Thank goodness I have perfect rhythm, or that could be a real problem. But you don't even have to have perfect rhythm with this. And if you wanted to mess around with Elements, you needed an Audio Pro account, which is an awesome thing, gives you access to Hans, my favorite way to search for music. There's still a lot of reasons to go to that, but they're giving us a really cool offer. So if you already took us up on the lifetime audio music membership, which is usually $500, for $199, you could get that. They're also going to give you, for $149, access to Elements 2.0. So now you can have lifetime access to all that music, and you can adjust it, rearrange it, do all of that stuff yourself afterwards without having to sign up for a regular membership. Pretty sweet, right, guys?
Very nice. Very nice.
Exceptionally sweet.
Now, historically, those stems have been exclusive to Audio Pro members, but Audio's opened up a special Lifetime Elements package just for Lifetime Music subscribers, and they set aside only 100 spots for our PetaPixel viewers and listeners. Here's how it works. If you're not already a Lifetime Music subscriber, you can join today for just $199 with code PetaPixel199, which is the offer that we've been doing for quite a while. It's an absolute steal. And then after checkout, you'll unlock the option to add Lifetime Elements for only $149. And if you're already a Lifetime Music member, just sign in and head to the stems menu on the on the browse page to unlock that exact same thing. So don't miss out. It's limited to the first 100 people to take us up on this sweet offer. Go check it out and start customizing your music today. So big thanks to Audio for sponsoring the podcast this week.
Nice.
I have an outstanding segue based on that verbal kerfuffle of brown and browse, because Chris is now very familiar with brown noise, because while we were in Alaska... While we were in Alaska, I would play on my phone. I have a noisemaker app because I like consistent sound when I'm sleeping, and the sound that I always pick is brown noise. This is not to be confused with the brown note from South Park. Brown noise is just like a lower
or brown
frequency.
nosers.
It didn't make me poop once.
No, like the note that I
in
played.
my day, we just had white noise. I don't know what's going on nowadays. I'm so confused.
I played Chris the white noise because Chris and I shared a bunk. By the way, this is where all this is coming from. When we were in Alaska,
white noise is like TV static or something, right?
It's too high,
quite high pitched. Yeah.
Yeah. Brown noise brings that down a little khackier. The sound is a little dirtier.
Jaron, are you willing to just drop an example of brown noise into the episode right now so our viewers can learn what that is?
That's not what it sounds like.
That's not what it sounds like? Oh.
Anyway, that's a good segue, right? Because we had
the hum of the engines, these beautiful engines lulling us to sleep every night. Every night.
Backing up a little bit. We were in Alaska shooting a movie with the Fujifilm Eterna cinema camera. We had 2 Eterna cinema cameras for this particular job, and we spent months planning it. And we're out there actively shooting for something like 8 or 9 days. If you want to get like a pretty deep dive on all of the stuff that we did, Jordan and I, thanks to the excellent camera work of our BTS and drone pilot Dima, put together a BTS video for you to watch that has been live on the channel this week, as well as the trailer for the movie. But we thought we'd talk a little bit more about what went into this, because this was a lot of work.
It's a lot.
This was a ton of work, and there's quite a bit to go. Like I said, we've been planning this for months. Like our pre-production started as soon as we basically heard we were going to do this. That was back in April at NAC. Actually, we were told that, hey, we're going to make a movie with these cameras.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's start at the beginning.
Well, it's definitely, if we look at some of the other projects that we've done, like the documentary with Blair and stuff like that, where we had 3 weeks or whatever of prep. So with this, we had a lot more time, but it was way more essential. There were so many more moving pieces. And we should mention, like, it wasn't just the 3 of us putting this together. We actually had a producer working on it as well. So, it was the work of a lot of people to bring this together. And Jaron, your big takeaway was like, movies are expensive, I think.
Yeah. Like looking at just like the credit lines that we're going to put together for this movie. Like we had the help of Paradox Studios. And they had a dedicated producer for us, and then that producer had another producer who filled in when she was like doing other stuff. So we technically had another person who was helping us, and then their boss would come in and help on occasion as well. We had these 6 of us.
Yeah, 6 people.
6 of us
for sure.
I can't even remember.
Six crew. I mean, I was a producer on this as well. Correct. I would say, yeah.
Chris may have starred in it, but a lot of this was done only because Chris was able to do certain things from a production role. If you want to mention what that was, Chris.
Well, we should start at the beginning. So, for people that hopefully have watched the BTS and watched the trailer. We wanted to make a documentary project. Yeah, this is way bigger than anything we've done before. Normally our projects are 2 days, 3 days of shooting time max. And I mean, I've loved all the docs we've done so far, but this was beyond. So Fujifilm came to us and they said, hey, we want to do a project with you guys. We want to use these new Fujifilm Eterna cinema cameras. And that's pretty interesting because normally when we shoot documentaries, we're able to pick what gear we want. And we've always gone with a more compact run and gun kind of setup like we would use for our channel. because it makes a lot of sense, right? You're mobile, you can move, all this kind of stuff. But these are medium format movie cameras, right? We want to capture the potential of that larger sensor size. So you guys were thinking like, let's shoot anamorphic. We can shoot like all the GFX lenses. We could put PL mount, like whatever we want to throw in here. And these cameras are not necessarily portable. They're certainly not weather sealed. I mean, there was a lot of things that we had to deal with, and they were like, well, let's, Fujifilm was like, let's do something like, we'll find a person who does woodworking or a crafts person or, some sort of small story you guys want to cover. And then you guys, not me, I want this to be clear. You guys said, well, Chris, you fly fish. Why don't we just make a documentary about you fly fishing? I'm not going to say no to that, but it was not my idea. Well, I did not push for this.
The thing was, they really wanted us to shoot this in North America. So, we didn't necessarily God, who do we know as an art? Like, who are we going to find it? Like, we had limited time to figure out what is our even subject going to be. And so, in my mind, I was like, rather than digging around for someone that we don't know and then trying to plan around their schedule of something, most people who watch this channel don't know that Chris won't shut up about fly fishing if you take him anywhere outside of the channel. So
unless you listen to the podcast.
Right. And he still mentions it, I would say, a very little amount. Like the amount that you actually care about fly fishing, Chris, is extremely understated. Right. Like you are
because Jordan makes a face. There's a face Jordan makes. Watch. Fly fishing. Yeah. See his brows like shaking. Yeah. Exactly.
I was curious because I've known you for years, but I don't really know anything about fly fishing. I've never shot fly fishing with you. Jordan has, and he has scarring memories of just standing there waiting for you to catch a fish.
It's so tedious.
But I thought we could do a cool movie about it.
Right.
And then you, Chris, as this evolved, and Fujifilm was like, great, that sounds like a great idea. And they picked Alaska. We gave them 12 global locations.
They wanted to keep it to North America. And so one of the things that was really about this, there was lots of ideas. I was like, hey, let's go to Louisiana. We could shoot New Orleans. That'd be really cool.
I was really against that personally.
You were really against that. It's going to be hot and stuff. There'll be bugs, but we catch big redfish and stuff. That'd be a cool thing. But, we're trying to talk about this. And then I talked to my friend, Tom Rosenbauer, who's at Orvis. I mean, he's like a pinnacle of Orvis. I mean, he has a beautiful channel, great podcast. I've been lucky enough to be on his podcast before. And he's a good friend. And so I was like, he's a fan of the show, actually. He's been a fan of PetaPixel for years and for Deep Review before that and Camera Store before that. So he's always been a supporter of us. That's why you always see me wearing these clothes. And I said, well, Tom's a great resource to ask. Like, where would you go fish for a project like this? And he was like, well, Alaska would be really interesting. You should definitely check out Alaska. And so through Tom, and we have to give a big thanks to the Orvis Corporation because Orvis really made this possible. They provided us with a lot of gear to shoot with, waders, boots, all this kind of stuff that we needed to make this happen.
On that note, waders are absolutely magical. Like, if you've never worn waders before, so Chris thought this was hilarious because the whole crew, none of us had done this before. So we get our waders, we put them on, and we're walking in waist high water, and we're just like, this is the coolest thing ever.
You would never do that, right? Yeah, you would never do that.
Yeah. But Chris, you were laughing at us. He was like, you guys are the biggest thumbs up for waders as an existing technology that I've ever seen.
Standing in a river and my feet aren't wet. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It was so cool. I absolutely loved it. It was so. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to mention
no, it's all good.
Are the coolest thing ever.
They were a huge support, but it went beyond that because then Tom and his friend Art Noglick, they got together and they're like, you know what? There's a company up there in Alaska, and we think this would be a really cool opportunity. So they got us in touch with the boat company, and this turned out to be awesome. At first, I have to admit, I was concerned. I'm like, oh, I kind of want to go to a canvas tent camp up in the woods, and it's gonna be miserable for you guys. You're gonna hate it, but I'm gonna get to catch giant rainbows on mouse patches. So who knows, right? That's where my head was going as an angler. But really, we're trying to showcase not just fly fishing, but also Alaska as a place. And I don't think you could have done it better than with the boat company. And they've got this 1950s minesweeper boat. They're the only non-for-profit cruise company there. All their profits go to conserving. Yeah, all their profits go to conserving the Tongass National Forest area. They're huge proponents of the environment there, and they've been fighting that fight for decades. So it's a really cool project. The crew were so nice. Hunter McIntosh, who's the proprietor of this company, he was so helpful in getting us this. And he said, I've got space. You guys come on this boat. We're going to get you on there. It's going to be awesome. And that became our home for a week. And I think everybody agree, like all our crew, myself, like it was a life-changing experience. It was a really awesome, eye-opening, beautiful experience. You're in the nature, like every day you're waking up to like glass water in this tiny bay. We're going on skiffs to all these rivers. Like it was a really cool experience. I loved it. It was fantastic. So huge thanks to the boat company and Orvis for making that possible.
The other reason that I was kind of glad that we were on this boat was we actually had access to power supply, consistent, good power, which I want to point out does matter because before we got on that boat, Chris, you actually were like, because fishing is not catching, it is fishing. Yes. You were concerned, like, hey, we need to make sure we get footage of fish being caught. And so we planned 2 days ahead of getting on that boat in Juneau, where we had another guide take us to specific rivers to make sure that we caught fish and caught it on camera. And that was hugely beneficial. We got a bunch of footage from that. That's really nice. Yeah. But the hotel that we stayed at was, I'm going to go ahead and say affordable. It was very affordable and available. And the problem with affordability and availability is that the ceiling will cave in places. That did happen. That did happen. And the power supply to this building was weird. Jordan, can you explain a little bit about what happened there?
Yeah, essentially we brought one gold mount charger. We generally had backups of everything, but the chargers, for those, if you've ever seen them, are enormous. So we were like, look, we'll bring one charger with us for this. And yes, we got to Alaska and it's like, oh no, none of our batteries are charging. This is an essential part of making a movie.
Everything
so we tried it in multiple rooms, all that. And I'm, plugging in my laptop and stuff. The power works, plug in the charger, not happening. So eventually we found one plug near the front office that was working. And it's just like they had bad electricity, like the sine waves weren't working. And the charger is so protective. Like we don't want to damage these batteries. They're very expensive. It just wouldn't accept power from those. So we're like, this is downtown Juneau and we're about to board a boat. Like, are we completely screwed on this project?
Like, if this hotel's power isn't working, what hope does a boat have?
Could be like? Yeah, and it turns out it's really good. A minesweeper from the 50s had way better power than the dodgy hotel in Juneau because we were able to charge.
The roof didn't cave in on the boat once. Not even once. Yeah.
No, by the way, that actually happened. We woke up one morning, or we got back from one day of shooting, came back, and there's just a hole in the ceiling of the hotel.
Just water.
And we're like, oh no, we have gear. Like our rooms are full of gear. Did it just get completely flooded out? But fortunately, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
But the boat was tight spaces. Like, we brought so much gear on that boat.
And it was a lot of work, by the way. Like we packed.
Yeah, that was just packing light
for a real movie production. We did not.
But these cameras need a lot of peripherals to support them, right? You need filters and matte boxes, tons of lenses, different looks, battery power. You were like covering these things in hairnet, like shower caps and garbage bags and stuff.
Shout out to
it rained on us hard.
I'd never heard of Capit. They're just giant camera shower caps. Yeah. So instead of a typical situation where you look through the bag and operate the camera, no, you duck underneath the shower cap and operate it.
The camera in there.
And I'm like, this is a perfect solution until I realized my body generates heat and I'd basically created a shower underneath the shower cap. So I was worried about condensation, all that kind of stuff.
Amazingly, we didn't damage any cameras. Yeah, you were a basket case because like that was one of the challenges is like shooting fly fishing, and it is tough to shoot it. And some of the main challenges would be, first off, you have to like get in the water. As a cameraman, like you often have to get in the water. And that's been tough. I know when Jordan's like, let's shoot fishing. He's like, oh God. Because you can't get creative shots without waders unless you're willing to just get completely soaked, right? Not to mention the fact that you've got expensive camera gear hovering inches over death, right?
Death for the absolutely machine. No water protection. You get water on that, like those handles that for your follow focus rig. Those things are so finicky. And if you get water on those, they fry.
Yeah, they're toasted, and it's not our gear. We're borrowing this or renting this, right? Like we don't want to wreck it. Sure, and on top of that too, like you wouldn't even want to dunk a weather sealed camera in the water, right? Like you still don't want to do that.
No.
So it was challenging, and then the other challenge with fishing is normally it's like spooky fish. you want to get a certain shot, but I have to like be like, no, you can't walk there. Or you can't stand here. You're going to spook those fish. And also it's like the pressure of like, you got to be ready because I'm going to put this fly down. This fish could take it at any moment. We want to get this in focus, get the action, get it captured. And so, yeah, it's stressful. And you might be waiting half an hour, an hour, 2 hours.
We were expecting
no fish.
to have to hit that record button and wait.
So that has been my experience in the past.
Yeah.
And just burning through enormous amounts of storage was kind of my expectation. I had no idea what the Alaska fishing was like, where it's like, Chris, I would like you to catch a fish now. And Chris would say like, okay, and run over and and then he would have a fish on the line and bring it over and hold it up to the camera. So
salmon runs is like the easiest fishing you can do. There were thousands of fish in every pool, literally thousands. Like
you're walking across and you're like, oh, I just kicked that fish in the ribs. I hope it's okay. But you're just like trying to cross a river. It's just covered in them. It's madness.
They don't spook. They're kind of eating flies, not because they're hungry, but more like they're angry and they want to clear fish away from their reds and they just don't want to be bothered. They're not in a good mood. They're going to die in a few days, right? Like they're really whatever. So you could throw flies out and consistently catch fish whenever, which is not ever going to happen in pretty much any other fishing situation whatsoever. So, but
which is why we'll never do this ever again.
No, exactly. But from a logistics standpoint, it was actually really nice because you guys could say like, hey, I've got the camera pointed here. Can you put a fly there and catch a fish? And I could be like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
And if I messed it up or the fish didn't whatever, you like do it again, no problem. Yeah. We could do it over and over and over. So that's unlike any sort of other thing that you'll normally experience with fly fishing. So and plus the fact I've never caught salmon. It was awesome. Like we're like 40, 50 fish a day. Like it was.
Chris has this look that he gets when he's truly happy. I don't think any of you who've watched the show have ever seen it.
No, I've never been truly happy
in this documentary because his eyes, they look completely different. His whole body language
it's amazing.
Is pure joy as he's out there just having the time of his life catching fish. He was so happy. Moving quickly back to the memory thing, this is why we were like, shoot, if we're going to be out there every day, we had to look at the data rates on the camera. Like how much can 1 terabyte card hold? And then if we're going to sit out there and hit record for a full day, how many cards do we need to have on hand? And then for backups, I was like, I don't want to format these cards because I'm concerned. What if something goes wrong? Because like the weather is bad. We're traveling a lot. Stuff bangs around. I was really worried about it. So we ended up getting like $10,000 worth of memory cards on loan from OWC, who sent us like 20 1 terabyte CF Express cards that I was expecting us to burn all the way through because based on our experiences with fishing, that you're just going to sit there and have hours of useless footage, but you have to capture it. That didn't end up happening. So we had plenty of storage. We had plenty of backups. We had SSDs as well. It was all really, really nice. Nothing went too crazy for us. It was good.
No, I think it comes down to a lot of planning, right? Like, normally we plan for Chile or for Idaho or for, the U2 spy plane. It's like, you're going to take a couple bodies, make sure you've got the lenses you want for the looks. We're going to have 4 batteries. We're going to have extra memory cards, but like nothing crazy, right? Like this was packing Pelican case after Pelican case, trying to find a way then to have to logistically ship that all up to Alaska safely, right? Not exceeding battery limits for airplane flights, like all this kind of stuff. We had to plan all of this and like it took months. Like we planned this for months, lots of people on it, hotels, flights, like everything, coordinating with the guides, coordinating with the boat company. We landed in Juneau and flew out of Sitka. So that's 2 different airports that we have to deal with, right? Different facilities, different travel distances, all that kind of stuff. And so it was a lot of planning. I think we did it really well, but it's like, you don't realize the scale of this. And because so many people are investing in us, you want to make sure it gets done right, and that you have everything covered. We can't have any excuses like, oh, we forgot that, or, oh, we're not going to have it. And also you can't predict, are you able to change batteries? Are we able to charge batteries? So a lot of these challenges can come along. You have to prepare for it. Luckily, it was a fairly smooth thing. We had a few hiccups, but for the most part, it actually went pretty smoothly. So But you can imagine if you were on a situation where things don't go smoothly, you need to have all of this stuff covered.
Yeah, one thing that didn't. Oh, The one thing that didn't get touched on the BTS is the prep time there where we went down to Kerner Camera in Portland.
Yeah.
And I have to give Matt Weintraub from Fujifilm huge thumbs up because I had not put together a camera package like this in, when did we do Walk Down to Water? Like 6 years ago was the last time I did that. And in that case, we were shooting it only an hour away from a rental house. So if we were missing anything, no big deal. Here, it's like it had to all be put together. Huge thumbs up because there was nothing we were missing. There were actually a few things we brought that it turns out we didn't need. Like I had a really nice Ergo Rig shoulder support, and I was like, for all the handheld stuff, what I didn't realize is you're shooting fly fishing basically from water level the whole time. The camera's almost never on your shoulder while you're doing that. Things like that, lighting equipment we didn't need because the light was beautiful.
But in terms of actually lights,
lots of lights.
Yeah. We set them up one day and we're like, this sucks. And we broke it down and didn't use them.
Yeah, it looked better without. And then we actually wound up using negative fill to add contrast instead of lighting. So, but you never know. And I'm just so grateful we didn't get up there and realize like, oh, this essential piece is missing. Which has happened historically on a couple of our previous YouTube productions.
Sure.
So you might notice there's an episode that went live this week where Chris is just holding a lapel mic that's connected to the side of a camera.
Yeah, that luckily did not happen. We had some excellent professionals helping out. Like, guys,
we did.
Alex,
you can't do it without the crew.
Alex is insanely good at his job too. So Matt and Alex were just like, they made our lives so much easier.
Alex, Dima shot all of the stuff for our BTS, flew the drone.
I actually had Dima do other shots too. I'm like, Dima, I need some more frame rate than this camera can provide. Can you please come over?
You directed it all, Jaron. You had it all on control. Jordan, you got beautiful cinematic shots. And I got fish like I did my job. So it's like you have to have a really good crew. And I think between the six of us, actually, we had a lot of roles covered, which worked out really nicely. So well. Really nicely.
So I want to work with this team again. That's how good it was. Like
it was
by
great.
the end of this, dude, this was a brotherhood. We were tight by the end of this.
That is every film production is like, we will be best friends forever. These are inseparable bonds. And then of course you never see any of those people ever again. Alex, I'm going to see. Alex will be back for the best and worst this year. So
it could have gone like Herzog Kinski on us, right? Things can happen, but luckily it didn't. So
there's still time.
So in a few minutes here, I'm going to have a conversation with director of photography who also uses this camera. And we're going to talk a little bit about like why someone would even want to use this camera, because that's a question I know that has been raised before. But before that, there's been a couple of things that I wanted to mention. There's some stuff that we used that did way better than we thought it would. And for Chris, it was his personal camera that he had on loan from Fujifilm. For me, it was the transmitter equipment and the headsets. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to this, because you loved your filter set, Jordan. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You go first, Jordan. What worked better than you thought it was going to?
Well, so for this, I knew I needed a matte box, essentially. But I had only ever used a rail-based solution. And Matt was like, look, I'm really into Condor Blue's matte box that just clips right onto the front of the lens. You just have a little adapter rings. And then it's great, because if you're using zooms, which we initially thought we'd be using more than we actually did, then you don't have to worry about like shifting the matte box back and forth as you're zooming the lens and the barrel's extending. That's why those extending barrels are a real problem in proper cinema rigs. So I tried this out for the first time, and it was lovely, so solid. And it's something that I'm actually like, I am so frustrated that when we're shooting out on bright days, if I'm using a step-up ring, like the magnetic ring situation, the big drawback to that is I can't use a hood if I'm doing that.
Right.
So we constantly have, flare. Chris has seen me all the time waving my hand above the lens to try and flag it while we're on a tripod. This is a great solution for that. So it kind of surprised me as something that it's not like I'll only ever use this with the big camera. You can use it with the small package as well.
That's the thing I was going to say is actually on a lot of our shoots recently, you've been using it on your Panasonics or whatever Sonys that we're shooting at the time. And
we can say it. Yeah, we used this on the ZR video as well, which will be out by the time you watch this.
Nikon ZR. So, I'm seeing you using this matte box, and I shot you on the ZR. You didn't really shoot me on the ZR. I shot you on the ZR, so I got to use the matte box. And the drop-in filters are really cool and stuff. It was pretty neat. Yeah. I wanted to.
The Condor Blue hat, top tier. Love that hat.
Oh, there you go. That you did like that. It coordinated with your clothing. I wanted to take photos, of course, on this trip because it's a documentary about me, and I, as a photographer, I wanted to shoot some stuff. And actually, I really like stuff I got out of Alaska. But I wanted something compact I could throw in my backpack when I'm fishing. I often hate photographing and fishing at the same time. I feel like if you're trying to do both, you end up sucking at both. You know what I mean? So I like to ideally focus on one or the other, but I have no choice. Like, you got to do shots. We're going to see beautiful things. I mean, this gorgeous waterfall on the final day. It was amazing to fish that and then to shoot it. But I wanted originally, I was thinking like, I like the 40 megapixel sensor. I wanted something that's a bit more rugged because the weather is going to be terrible, and it was. And so I really wanted to get an X-T5 from Fujifilm, or maybe like a XH2 or something, like something that's more rugged, bigger, whatever. And they didn't have one available. So they said, well, I can get you an X-T50. And I'm like, okay, I'll take an X-T50, but it's going to be in and out of the pack. Like, it cannot get wet. They're not weather sealed. I got it wet. I was amazed.
It was unavoidable.
It's unavoidable. And it actually had zero issues. I was shocked. I thought for sure I'd be giving them a dead brick back. This XT50 got, I'm like, oh God, we'll just, chalk it up to the price of doing business. Sorry. Like, your XT50 got wet. But because I have to get these shots, but it's raining and it survived really well. It had zero issues. The lenses were weather sealed, no problem. But the body itself, that thing stood up.
There were days
well.
I remember, you, like at the Glacier Day, you showed it like, guys, this camera's going to die any second now because it was pouring rain that day. It was miserable. And you had to hold the camera because we needed shots of you holding the camera. There was no choice but to get that thing wet, and it was fine. So
it had zero issues, and that thing's got the pop-up flash on top and everything. Yeah. Like, they always say, "Oh, that's a real problem for wet." Anyways, don't get your X-T50 wet. But if you do, in my experience, limited experience, it'll survive. But yeah, I was impressed.
For me, it was the Solidcom SE headsets we used, which, by the way, are awesome. The range on those things is incredible, and like they work super well, and they got absolutely drenched and did not care. They were perfect. They're still in perfect working order. The other thing I want to point out is that the backpack I used, I had never actually used this backpack before, like out in the wild. Like, I tested it for comfort and stuff, but I'm like, this is the most rugged bag I have. It's a Naya Evo bag, NYA-EVO. And it did. I told Chris, like, shoot, there's a rain cover in here. I probably should have used that. I didn't realize it came with a rain cover. Like, I usually don't put those in there, but I had left it in there and forgotten about it. Could have used it. Didn't matter. The bag itself sat in the rain in Juneau while we were out shooting. There was no place to put it. We were out in the middle of nowhere, and we had no tree cover one day, and I just left it. Fingers crossed that nothing gets in there, and it just rejected all the water. It was just shy of submersion, I would say, the amount of water that it took. And it was incredibly well sealed. So I'm super pleased with that. So if you are looking for a bag that you can get like stinking wet and it's pretty comfortable to wear and you need to carry camera equipment, the Naya Evo, the one that I have is the Fjord 50. Great. Ooh. And you know what? The name works too because we fjorded rivers, right? And there were fjords that we went through on the boat.
I did rock that little Ulanzi tripod, the travel tripod, photo version one. I didn't hate it. It was light. It fit in my backpack.
Chris's top tier recommendation. Didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it. Raves Chris Nichols for the PetaPixel Weekly.
Hate? I still, to this day, will never like them again. And it's the top-end tripods you're supposed to use for high-end cinema gear. I absolutely despise
those things. Are
dragging those beasts around.
Just the worst. I remember telling myself years ago I would never do it. And here I have found myself not only doing it again, but carrying it on a hike. That was miserable.
Yeah. No, I mean, that Ulanzi did great. I mean, for a compact travel tripod, being able to put it into flowing water and still get sharp pictures is good, right? Like, it's not vibrating too much and stuff with all that movement. So yeah, no, it did a good job. I don't like the center column. I don't love the center column, but I'm not going to turn the thing sideways very often, but you could for macro. It's a bit of annoyance, but the legs were stable. It was lightweight enough. Yeah, I didn't mind it.
I used
the ball head's quite nice on top.
I used the other one from Falcam that we typically like. I use that.
I do like the tree root. That's still my
tree
fave.
Root lasted. It was great. I had that in the river and just left it there. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that's still my fave. Yeah.
I did literally leave it in a river as a spot where I'm like, we're shooting from right here. And then all right. any more information you want to know about this production, you feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll answer them over the next few weeks. It's going to be a busy few weeks for us, so we'll do our best. Next, we're going to transition to a conversation with someone else who's used a Fujifilm camera. So we're going to talk to Oren, who was the DP on a shoot that was far less rugged than ours, I think. But, we'll see what perils they came
Cannon
up
Beach is a
against.
vacation compared to what we did. Yeah, it was.
It looked like they actually had good weather, too. Really jealous of that. After that, we'll transition straight to Chris and Jordan coming to you from Apple Park. And so I will see you in a couple of weeks, but they will see you shortly. So thanks for joining me. And then we'll transition.
Bye,
there.
Jared.
Yeah. See you
Bye,
guys
Jordan.
later.
Let's change our clothes, Jordan.
Let's go.
And as promised, I'm joined by Oren Soffer, the director of photography for a short film titled OK, which was shot on the Fujifilm GFX Eterna cinema camera. Oren, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
You'd be a great resource to talk about why someone would choose this camera, because this has been a discussion point actually since they added video to GFX Eterna, or it's not Eterna, just GFX cameras in general.
Yeah.
That large sensor that has its own drawbacks, but there are some things you can do with it that you can't necessarily do with other cinema cameras that are available. Can you elaborate on what you were given this camera to shoot with? What are you thinking now that you know what this thing can do? What drives you to use this camera in certain ways?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm always looking for different ways to express myself artistically and creatively as a DP, right? And we live in a really exciting time where there's so many different tools and so many different platforms that we can use to create different images and different, different combinations of lenses and sensors and stuff to create all sorts of different compositions and juxtapositions of frames and subjects and all of that. The GFX sensor is unique out there. It's the tallest and kind of largest sensor that there is. And I've been a GFX stills photographer for quite a few years. I've been shooting stills for most of my life, but always in the kind of Super 35 and then eventually in the kind of smaller format. And as soon as I started taking large format stills with the GFX, it really kind of opened my creativity to a whole new level. It just reinvigorated my inspiration, on the stills side. And I started taking way more stills than I had in years, decades. And so when Fujifilm turned that sensor into a cinema camera, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Now there's an opportunity to kind of take this sensor and this imager and this combination of lenses and sensor size and the unique characteristics that kind of unlocks, and do that in motion picture form, in video form. So when we were given the opportunity to create the short film, OK, I was really, really just interested in seeing what kind of images we could create with it. And the results to me really were basically kind of medium format stills come to life, which I just thought was really, really exciting visually, and create so many different opportunities for emotion and interesting compositions and interesting visual storytelling opportunities that come about with that kind of shallow depth of field and that kind of visual isolation and the lenses that you can put on it. It just opens up this whole world of creativity that I think is really, really interesting and exciting. So that was what excited me about it.
So you shot this at Cannon Beach, right?
We shot this at a Cannon Beach, and it turns out we shot this at a beach that looks a lot like Cannon Beach. It's
Oregon coast.
It's the Oregon coast. It's about 80 miles south of Cannon Beach, and it has a rock called Haystack Rock. And there is another Haystack Rock at Cannon Beach, and it's also called Haystack Rock.
Right, the famous one. Yeah.
Yes, but there are two other Haystack Rocks.
That's very funny. I did not know that.
I know, we didn't realize this either, but we found this out when we were there because we were like, this looks really familiar. but it is not the Canon Beach. It's a very similar looking one, but very much Goonies vibes.
Got it.
but yeah.
So the reason I brought this up is because we both actually, your team and my team, prepped at Kerner in Portland.
Oh, yeah.
So we were probably within a weeks of each other in there doing the same general stuff.
I
building
love
up
it.
the cameras. Yeah. So
Kerner's awesome. They were so supportive.
yeah. God, I was really impressed with how nice of a prep space for movies we have here in Portland. Like, that place is great. Happily
Incredible.
prep there again.
Yeah, and you get smoked fish. It's the best.
So, what lenses did you end up using? Because we used a mixture of spherical and anamorphic for ours, depending on the mood that I wanted.
Yeah.
We ended up using a lot of the entirely anamorphic for our interview segments, and then we used it for some transition stuff, and then we did spherical in the field. We were really surprised how many lenses actually covered. Like, you don't expect it necessarily, but like, we got some from Nisi that covered beautifully.
Yeah.
The new Sigma Izu Primes cover. After, I believe, the 50 millimeter area, I think those ones all covered. We used mainly the 65. And then we were using Atlas Anamorphics, which those cover too. Just because we're not using the full width or the full sensor area anyway on those. We're de-squeezing. So
Right.
what were you using?
Well, we definitely were going for a more vintage look for the film. It definitely has a kind of a 70s vibe, like very Amblin, kind of Spielbergian kind of atmosphere to it. So for the spherical lenses, we honed in on these rehoused 70s Fuji stills lenses, medium format stills lenses. Ooh. Called Fuji EBC. They're also called Fujica. And they were large format. Sorry, I'm being corrected from off camera. Large format Fuji stills lenses. And those are rehoused by Ancient Optics and TLS, and those sit at Old Fast Glass. So those were a really cool discovery, and we thought that those would be a really cool set of lenses to pair with the with Eterna, since it's kind of a continuum with the legacy of Fujifilm as a company, to kind of pull from their legacy of large format stills lenses from the past and kind of combine it with the modern cinema camera from the present. And it's just really gorgeous large format stills lenses. And in general, I think there's a surprising amount, like you were saying, a surprising amount of rehoused large format and medium format stills lenses out there that have been rehoused over the last few years that cover the camera.
Even some that aren't medium or large, like some that are designed for full frame.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And that just over cover. Yeah. So it's really
neat.
Good. Yeah. And on the anamorphic side, we went with the Zelmus Apollos. So we were looking for lenses with a more vintage look, and those are a little harder to find. That lenses that kind of cover this sensor, but we also wanted to find 2x anamorphics because we wanted to use the full height of the sensor, and really get the full open gate experience, and not crop anything. But we did find that most of the Zelmus focal lengths cover, and we only really used 2 focal lengths anyway. On the anamorphic, it was the 75 and the 100. So those covered, and when you de-squeeze those and get the full width, it just looks gorgeous. It's so cinematic and epic, and it just looks massive. Like it's such a beautiful, beautiful big image from such a small camera. So it was really exciting.
I would agree with that. When I saw our anamorphics de-squeeze, I was like, oh my God, this looks so good.
Yeah.
So one of the things I was curious about this when I first heard about the camera, and I'm curious what you think. Where do you see cinematographers and directors and teams using these cameras? Do you see them as being a primary camera? Are we shooting home movies with these, or are we bringing them in for specific shots? And do you think someone's going to own one of these, or are these just going to be rental house cameras? Like give folks an idea, because Fujifilm stuff is not really, we don't think of it like that at all, because it's all generally consumer level things. You can just buy one and you have it and you know exactly what you're using it for. Where does the Eterna fit in the cinema world?
Yeah, I think time will tell. It's a little hard to predict how these things will go, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't see why you wouldn't shoot a whole film on it. I mean, we did. It was a short film, but a film nonetheless, and we found it to be, a really robust and really, really beautiful image that comes out of the camera. And I would absolutely shoot a whole film on it, and have shot whole films on other cameras that I think people wouldn't really expect you to shoot a whole film on. And I think especially in the indie world, I think a camera like this, I think would be really exciting. Something that gives you a really epic, kind of large scale cinematic image with really great color science and a lot of flexibility and a lot of cinematic flavor and legacy with the LUTs and the built-in kind of film profiles and all of that. And a lot of flexibility, but in a small package that packs a big punch. And just enough flexibility and just enough tools that kind of give you that control and that flexibility, but without, maybe without all the bells and whistles of something at the highest end of a cinema camera. But it doesn't necessarily, like at an indie scale, you don't necessarily need, the stuff that those very top tier cameras come with. And we certainly, at the level of the type of film that we were making, we didn't feel like we were lacking those features. So, I think for an indie production, like this kind of camera would be perfect. So whether it's something that lives at a rental house or somebody owns it, I think it would be perfect for that kind of production. Documentaries could be interesting. Obviously for focus pullers, that'll be an interesting experience, but that's beyond my purview. Let someone else figure that one out. But it definitely creates an interesting image and a really exciting image, and one that I hope to see more of. And I'm really excited to see what other cinematographers do with it and other filmmakers in every genre. So I'm just really excited as a cinematographer to have another option out there, and one that really creates such a robust and interesting image with really great color science, because that's really the most important one to me is something that has such strong colors and that has a really great basis of the F-log format is also really, really strong. Like when we brought the footage into the color grade, we also just found that the footage was really, really malleable, and we got all the colors out of it that we wanted. Yeah, it was just really, really impressive.
Was one of the nicest grading log files that I've used in a while. And
100%.
It had so much latitude, so I'm pretty pleased with that. On a similar note, Fujifilm hasn't released them yet, but they have said that they're going to release LUTs that mimic their some of their specific film simulations. So I'm curious, do you see filmmakers actually using these LUTs straight out, like these are the ones they're going to use, or do you see them more likely to start with that and then tweak it and then use that LUT?
Well,
because these days, like color grading is it's like a whole thing. You have like a whole group of people that do it. Yeah. So like having these LUTs prepared like this, I feel like it would be unusual to just drop one on.
Well, maybe, but I think that again, like at the indie level, I think having something like that would be really attractive. Like for myself as a filmmaker, I often work with a colorist and like to build a LUT bespoke for a project and start from scratch. But if I were, myself 10 years ago, I think having a LUT that emulates Eterna stock and does a really good job at it from, at a base level, and having something like that at my fingertips or even in the camera to start with, like that would be such a powerful tool to have already, so that I don't have to go to a high-end post house or color house and like have them create something like that. So to have Fujifilm create that and provide that with the camera, I think is a really strong basis for, indie filmmaking or docs or anything like that. Like I think that actually is a really, really powerful tool that I hope people would use. I certainly would. And again, from the stills side, like having the picture profiles and the color profiles that emulate the film stocks is something I've used on the stills side for so long. So I think translating that over to the cinema side, hopefully is something that people would use. I probably would. But where I'm at now is I definitely do work with colorists in my workflow, but for other people who maybe don't have that luxury, I think having access to something like that would be really powerful.
It's also neat that it's going to be usable with the footage captured not on the Eterna. Like it'll work with anything that shoots on F-Log C2. So
oh yeah, totally.
It's going to be, a lot of people will have access to it, so that's going to be neat.
Yeah, which I think is really nice.
Oren, thank you very much for coming by and chatting with me. I'm going to now throw to Chris and Jordan, who are going to talk about a very similar camera system with just as large of a sensor. That's a joke. They're going to talk about the iPhone. We're going to throw to them now. They'll be coming to you from Apple Park. Oren, thanks so much, guys. I'll catch you in the next episode. Chris and Jordan are taking it away.
Cool. My pleasure. Thanks.
Hey, it's me, Chris Nichols, and it is my good friend,
Jordan Drake.
And we're joined by our other good friend, Tyler Stalman. And actually, Tyler, you've been on our podcast before. We've been on your podcast before. It's great that we're all finally here at Apple Park.
Yes.
To do a little bit of a podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, we're so happy to have you here with us in the
Big
room.
reunion.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's actually a very exciting launch this year. So we've just seen the keynote presentation for the iPhone 17, and there's some exciting stuff. I do want to get out of the way, though. So there's 4 phones, the iPhone 17, the new Air, and then we've got the Pro and the Pro Max, right? Pretty standard. We didn't see the Plus return. Hey, guys?
No, I think Plus is gone. I mean, any time that's come up, we've just kind of glazed over the Plus.
The other day I told somebody there was a Plus, and they're like, no.
No, you're like, oh.
They discontinued those, 5 years ago, I'm sure. Yeah.
So, the iPhone 17, the 17 has some interesting features and some new updates, but really for photographic use, I think we want to focus on the Pro and the Pro Max. But the Air, just from a design standpoint, pretty interesting, right? Super thin.
Looks nice.
One camera.
My only take on the Air is I think a lot of reviewers are going to be like, this is going to be a great phone for somebody, but probably not me, because we're all color pros. Yep. But I'm wondering who those people are. Like, I want to see them in the wild. Like, who ends up choosing the one camera? I could see it. It's very beautiful.
It is very beautiful. Is it fair to say it's going to be a fashion accessory to a large extent?
I think to a point, but it's also like people need to understand they're just like up on a stand and everybody's photographing them. We actually, that's the weird limbo of this podcast. We haven't had our hands-on time and briefing with them yet. So yeah, I really want to see when you're not in a room full of people in a rush, how does it feel in your hand, things like that. Because I could see it being a little top heavy with the camera bump, but I want to see what that's actually like.
It's beautiful, it's stylish, and I think there are, of course, going to be creators like us that rely on the rear cameras a lot, and that's not really, and that's what we like to do. Yeah. We almost never talk about the front-facing camera ever, but in this particular case...
It's really cool.
Yeah, and actually all 4 phones have the same front-facing camera across the board, so I think we should talk about that. Yes. So what's exciting about that?
I mean, this is the most exciting thing for the other cameras, for regular iPhone, for iPhone Air, and it's on all of them, and it's a square sensor.
Yeah, and you've been saying for years, this is one you always go back to.
Times. And I mean, there was one time that there was a April Fool's Day that they were saying Canon's going to make one, a square sensor, and people were laughing at it. I'm like,
this is such a great idea.
This should happen. We all actually want this. I found it really useful. It's the only reason I ever shoot micro four thirds is to get that more
almost square
aspect ratio. DJI has sort of discovered the power of this, and I'm thinking of GoPro.
Yes, GoPro's almost square now.
Yeah, almost
square. Yeah.
It's so useful, and the best ever I think was actually on the spectacle glasses from Snapchat that would record in a circle. Yeah. So as you rotated your phone, it would rotate. Anyway, that's not what these do, but they get very close. It's the same
very
idea.
Cool.
Yeah,
24 megapixel camera, but your output's going to be 18 megapixels, and the idea is you can just hold the phone always in a vertical orientation, which is the most comfortable way for a lot of people to do it. But you can then automatically or manually frame it horizontal or vertical. It can zoom in, it can zoom out. If you're just on camera by yourself, it gives you a tight frame yourself. If another face gets detected, it automatically expands the frame to fill them. So yeah, this has a lot of potential. Better stabilization. orientation. If you move around in front of the phone, it'll actually just automatically keep you centered. Like, this is all very practical benefits for a lot of creators, I think.
And they did say it's a larger sensor. So I'm curious, like, is the area that we use in the photo still larger?
Right.
After
That's what exactly.
I hope it is. I did try, like, I was able to try it for a minute or two, and it seems pretty good. It's so much wider. The field of view is, even when it's cropping in, it is still wider than the old selfie camera.
It's weird they didn't give us an equivalent focal length for that as well.
Yeah.
I thought that was
They're
surprising.
like, it depends.
It's wide. You know, it's wide and it's boxy.
real wide.
Yeah.
I totally forgot to ask, can you take square
No.
photos on it?
I tried it, and I asked. There's no square.
Wow.
It's either vertical or horizontal.
Okay, well, that seems like an oversight. But
Third-party app opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the next one's only a year away, Chris.
Start your wish list now.
Yeah, so that's shared across the board. We have improved screens, better ceramic shields. I will say, my dad wallet damaged the iPhone 16 in twice as long. It took twice as long to damage it with my cards pressing against
So
the
the
screen.
2X claim is still legit.
I would say that's 100% legit, and now it's 2X again. I mean, Apple
Could
does
you
love
get
their
through
2
a
times
full
betters.
year with the dad wallet with it undamaged?
No, that'll be the test. That'll be the test for next year. Did I get through the whole thing? But
This is an industry benchmark now.
better screens, 3,000 nits brightness across the board. That's shared. But let's focus on the Pro models because that's really, I think, for creators, the exciting thing.
Good stuff.
What about the design? Because that's the first thing that you notice. It's a brand new camera plateau. It's the first unibody they've had. They don't have a separate camera module. It's all machined out of the same piece of aluminum. I feel everybody seemed to kind of give oohs and ahs, and like the appeal seems to be there. The orange color's hot. I don't think there's any denying that's the nicest one. But this new body design, to me, the one thing I'm feeling is it looks more rugged, more sporty. Is it going to be fashionable? Is it going to be stylish for people? Or does it look
looks more like the Watch Pro
looks
is
techie,
the
yeah.
kind of design. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree?
I think it's because I'm so familiar with it because the case makers have been putting out these mock-ups for a while now. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the thing, and I think it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
it looks very good, but not a big jump. Like it is very familiar, but it is different. So it's kind of this evolution towards something. I think some of the choices though will help us in practical ways, like the way that unibody design should help with actual rigidity, and then also hopefully the heat distribution happens. I mean, I really need my phone to stay bright lighter when I'm longer when I'm outside because I've just had it dim so often.
You
when
were
I'm
saying you've
in
had heat problems on the iPhone 16
Yeah, for
Pro
sure.
series,
Yeah,
right?
I have as well.
Yeah. And once it starts to dim, it can just go down to basically not quite zero, but might as well be. Like you cannot actually see anything.
You can't
on
do
the
your
screen
job.
anymore.
Yeah. And so here we've got new processor, A19 Pro. Hopefully it's going to be more power efficient, maybe less heat. Best battery life they've ever had, largest battery on these. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll see new vapor chamber design and maybe the unibody will transfer more of that scorching heat into your body. Unibody to human body heat transfer.
Beautiful.
They should have used that line. That's good.
I'm assuming. I don't know.
I don't know if that's part of it.
The thing I love when you're talking about that is you're talking about like physical aspects of this phone, where for the last few major keynotes from the other companies, it has been like, okay, here's the body. It looks the same as last year. Let's talk about all the different weird software stuff we've done. I think it's actually kind of refreshing that they're like, look, this is a difference in how it's built, things like that. We're going to talk about the lens changes. Like actually seeing some real hardware differences is really different from what we're seeing with everyone else.
I know there's Apple staff watching us right now, but like the fact of the matter is, I think there's no denying last year the launch was interesting, but it was kind of like, oh, okay.
I got 4K 120, so I was over the moon.
Yeah,
but
Jordan was happy, but it's like, do we really see a lot of changes otherwise? And I don't know that that's.
Yeah, they were more niche last year. Like I appreciated some of those specific features, like you're saying, the 4K 120 and 120 also just had more dynamic range. It was just a better image.
Yeah.
But like it's narrower and narrower on the margins of what people appreciate. But I think some of these differences we're talking about right now, everyone will notice it right away.
Yeah.
And that's what's exciting is like, okay, when's something we're actually going to all experience as different.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the same though? We've got the same ultra wide camera as last year. We've got the same main camera as last year. We do have a brand new telephoto camera.
4 times.
Yes.
You wanted this so badly.
I loved the 3 times. I was really disappointed to see it go from the Pro model last year. So having the 4, I think, is a really sweet compromise.
Yeah. So it's a larger sensor. 56% larger is kind of the number that
That sounds like a
heard.
lot.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
But, they've gone from 5 times down to 4 times. And we did complain about the 5X camera last
Just
year.
optically,
Yeah,
yeah.
optically, we still have the same f2.8 aperture. We should be getting more light, though, with the larger sensor. And 48 megapixels across the board. So
Was it the same aperture? I didn't actually catch the number.
I believe it was f2.8.
It was 2.8,
Yeah. So that's a positive change. It will do an 8 times as a 12 megapixel output, right? And then, of
Yep.
course, they're all Fusion cameras now across the board, so you can go anywhere in between pretty much and get a 24 megapixel image out of it.
Do you guys use the 2x zoom on the...
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that 50 range. And it's funny, I didn't use it for a while when the 16, and just gradually, I've just found that framing works really well for
I was
how I use my
skeptical
phone.
of it because I'm like, well, you're cropping in by half. Like,
Right.
how could it possibly look as good? And it doesn't. It doesn't quite look
Sure.
as good. But it does look good enough, and especially for video, for social, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, when you're shooting with your phone, a lot of the time that's what it's for. And even at 4K, cropped in that much, it's like, it still looks absolutely usable. So I'm hoping we get that same experience with that 8 times zoom, which isn't guaranteed. Like, I do want to test that before
Yes.
I
Yeah,
just
we don't know
believe
yet.
it.
Before we just praise them like, oh, it's marvelous.
Because the 5, that needed an improvement. The sensor was still
Yes.
quite small. It was really nice. It was useful, but you could see the difference.
So how do you guys feel about the reduction in telephoto optical range?
Great.
From 5
Love
to
it.
4.
Oh
right?
yeah. Like, it's only an upgrade.
Really?
5 was too much.
Yeah. So, because, a lot of the Samsung phones in the past used to have 10x, and everybody really cried when it went down to 5.
But they kept the 3 times when they did that. And that's what I think is great about having the 4 now.
Right. So you guys don't miss having a longer telephone? I mean, the Google Pixel 10 Pro, right? 100 times.
I was hoping for 100 times. That's
Yeah, like we're only getting 40 out of Apple, but I mean,
making stuff up.
but so you guys are fine with that? You don't ever feel like a desire to go further telephoto?
Yeah. Further is helpful, but you need that more in between range. And I think the response depends who you're talking to as well.
Right.
Professionals, like people with the photography background, are going to be used to shooting like 85 portraits,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
like 85 to 135 is a really common range. And you realize that 200 is on the long, like that is pretty far. I don't know how many times 200 is.
8 times.
Yeah,
That
I
is
mean,
8
you're
times,
not
for the main
even.
camera,
Yeah, so like that's pretty extreme. So people wanting 10 times is like, you're kind of getting into like super zoom territory where,
Of course, yeah.
Their normal people's goal is like, I just want to see the thing across the street, or want to read that billboard that's a mile away, or it's seeing something far away, but they're not trying to take a beautiful image as much.
Right.
And if you come from a photography background and that's what you're interested in, that's your goal, you see the power of like, that's a little farther than I'm gonna need most of the time. I could use something closer to the 80, 100 millimeter range way more often.
I'm curious to see, and this is something we'll have to test. We can't get it from the keynote presentation, but how much improvement we have in the computational technology. Apple's actually always had a really good portrait mode. That's something we've always talked about. The depth maps are nice. The way it renders out of focus hairs is nice. The bokeh effect that you get in the background. We have a stronger processor. The promise would be that we'll see some improvements, but they really didn't talk much about computational at all.
I think if they didn't talk about it, it's probably not going to jump. There is a change to the Deep Fusion. Wait, is that there is a new processing model for the pipeline.
Yes,
it is being changed. I bet the portrait mode is not, because they would have like
right. They would have said 2 times better.
Yeah.
2 times better portrait mode than that. Okay.
Well, but there are some things where I'm like, well, of course they would mention that, and they didn't. So if I can just quickly jump over to Video Land for a little bit.
Why don't we
here.
talk about video? Yeah, there's some exciting features here.
So the big headline is it now has ProRes RAW recording, which, it does give you a lot of flexibility in terms of, correcting the white balance, making exposure adjustments after the fact.
If ProRes 422 HQ, or is it? Yeah,
HQ is not enough.
If that's not enough for you.
Yeah, they do give you this, but again, you're butting up against the limits of what that sensor can do a little bit. Like, I still find most of the time I'm doing my log recording just in H.265, and that's totally sufficient for like putting it in like nice YouTube videos like we're doing and stuff like that. So for filmmaking, which it is being used for, like 28 Weeks Later came out recently, won a bunch of awards for its cinematography, which was shot on iPhones in some crazy arrays.
Yep.
There is going to be an advantage, but it's not something everyone's going to be like, oh, the video quality is dramatically better with ProRes RAW. It's just more flexibility in post when you're doing that.
Yes.
Except They didn't say, and this would have been my headline feature, the ProRes RAW recording is open gate on this with 4x3 sensors. So that
that's
rocks. So yes, you'll be able to, just like we talked about with the square camera, you'll have reframing options on it, more resolution that you can work with alongside that. So that gives you a real reason to use ProRes RAW.
And there are anamorphic like Moment has an anamorphic.
Tons,
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
So you could
So you could
now
actually
have-
use more of the sensor while you're doing that, get some really cool squeeze ratios. So that becomes kind of like your entry point for that boxier sensor. It's really nice. And they also introduced Genlock, which really excited 30 people.
Sure.
Danny Boyle's cinematographer
all
who
of
was
them,
building the array in
right.
that movie. Yeah, it was like, yes, Genlock. But if I were to do it again, I'd be like, also there's Genlock, and you get those 3 people clapping.
yeah. I
But
mean,
the
a
headline
podcast-
should be open gate ProRes
a setup
RAW.
like we're doing now.
We should point that out. Yeah, absolutely.
If you're recording on iPhone with multiple iPhones,
Yeah.
lots
Yeah.
of use cases.
This is the first time. I mean, last year it was all big cameras with like cabrio lenses and stuff like that. Now we've got an array of iPhones.
Yeah, and that is a locked frame rate, which is a constant issue with smartphones. Like you can get around it when you use their multicam in Final Cut camera,
Right.
but it still drifts.
Yeah.
Which this will completely prevent it from doing. Like Genlock is rock solid for synchronizing with other cameras. So that is cool. It's just such a niche use case.
You just reminded me of a disappointment though. So great that they added the ProRes RAW. That is impressive. But what would be more useful to more people is H.265 log
in the native app.
Yes.
I mean, because it is you can do it in the other apps. We use Blackmagic, but like I want one that Apple signs off on, where they're like, this is a great bit rate. It's going to be able to be graded well, and you're not going to lose any quality, because there's a bunch of options in Blackmagic, and some people might set it too low. And Blackmagic's also just not first party. It's different using Apple stuff. Like,
Right.
Sometimes I want to just hit record and kind of know that it's going to be good. And I find the Apple camera app is still the best for auto mode.
It's doing the most under, like
Yeah.
even if I use Final Cut camera, the auto exposure response I find is quite different. For some reason, my stabilization is always turned off
Yes.
whenever it's a really important
I
shot.
have had this too. It's like turning itself off.
When you watch our launch video, we're walking down the stairs. I'm following Chris, and halfway down, I was like, "Oh, damn it! The stabilization didn't get turned on
Yeah.
here."
No stabilization, almost black screen. These are things you're dealing with on a regular basis here, right? There's another feature that we should talk about. And I was kind of thinking, oftentimes they'll make something in the presentation where at first I'm like, why would I use that? Where would I use that? How would I use that? But the fact that all the phones can actually record both front and rear at the same time. So I can be recording video out there in the scene, but also get like a picture of, I guess, my reaction.
Yeah.
And
my
it's been
silly
available
face.
in apps before, but again,
Yes.
you're not getting like all of the Apple processing juice that they do on the native app, and now you've got that.
I mean, would you use that? Because you do a lot of on-phone video creation, traveling, and that kind of stuff yourself.
TikTokers are going to use it. Like casual content creators will, because it's kind of limited. The recording is what you're seeing in the
it is the picture in picture.
And you can move it around. You can move the picture in picture around, and it records that movement of the picture in picture. Like it is exactly what you're seeing becomes the file. Whereas the third-party apps that have offered this in the past, like Filmic Pro had one, would record 2 different video
You'd have
files.
2
if you
separate
wanted,
files, and you
have
can
them side by
cross-cut
side.
after.
Yeah, you could have all these options. And so it's not. This is so often when Apple introduces the feature. It's like, here's the easy to use one that everybody can figure out right away. You don't need to be pro to put it to use, but you wouldn't use it for. It doesn't extend very far into other applications.
Right.
But I'm sure that the support for this has gotten better, and I bet we'll see more third-party support.
They'll be able
There's
to
probably some
take
APIs and
advantage of
stuff.
it now that it's in the basic pipeline. But Apple, every time we talk to them, they're terrified by the prospect of complicating the interface.
Yeah.
Like it has to be simple and clean no matter what.
That's true. Although I will say, would you guys agree? Apple's always been good about giving out the API to a lot of designers so they can make their own programs. But would you guys agree that Apple's also making a concerted effort to bring a lot of professional features to their own software now? Well, I feel like they're trying to maybe win some of that back.
Yeah, I mean, that's their embrace of Final Cut cameras, absolutely that. And then their embrace of Blackmagic, they don't treat it seems, as a third part. They're just like, oh, and then this is in Blackmagic, that's where you'll access that. I think it's kind of smart.
They're working very closely with them. You can tell there's a tight relationship, making sure that if there's any features that are too complicated for a Apple app, that Apple will be like, well, please, Blackmagic, here's what you need to know to implement this feature, because it's all there.
Right.
Blackmagic supports everything.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's the case with the Gen Lock as well. It's actually currently going to require a Blackmagic piece of hardware. So it's a USB-C dongle locking it out to an SDI. So they're definitely just like, that's over our general audience's head. So third parties, why don't you make some money off it? I don't know.
Cool. I mean, how do you see, I guess, these new phones changing your workflow going forward?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is a good question. I don't know if there's anything so big that'll work differently. Like last year, the 120 looking better did change things, because sometimes I would shoot 60 frames per second just because it looked enough better that I would not shoot 120 because it kind of looked terrible occasionally. So that was like a step forward. But all of these features, like the 4x zoom is more functional for me.
Yeah.
I'll probably use it at the same times I would otherwise use 5, but now it'll look better. So I'll kind of behave the same way, I think. I don't think I'll be changing my actual setup, but it sounds like the results will all be a little bit better. Maybe I'll use the selfie more often.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually more excited about the hardware side of things, like having the better thermals on it. Like that would be a good upgrade for me. I prefer the 4K camera on it. But yeah, last year, the 4K 120 was like, that's something I use constantly in our work. And I don't quite see something there. Like I could see some maybe edge use cases where I'd use ProRes RAW, but it's mostly because I want open gate. Like that'll be, actually I'll be struggling with the fact I have to go to RAW video in order to access that open gate recording for that. So I don't see it being something that I'm going to be using constantly on that.
Do we know, is that recording internally as far as we know?
So thank you, because that's something else they didn't mention is ProRes RAW, you can record up to 30 internally, and then 60 and 120 will be external, just like what they're doing with ProRes HQ. So
That's still pretty good.
Yeah.
I want to know what those file sizes are going to be like.
They're pretty similar, actually.
Really?
Like ProRes RAW is very efficient, so if you can handle HQ with your current workflow,
Which I can.
no problem. Then you'll still have that. It is worth pointing out, if you're really serious about color work, Resolve is the gold standard for that right now, which does not support ProRes RAW at this point. So now we are getting updated Resolve on iOS, but still, that's just going to support a BRAW workflow or Red RAW or Airy RAW.
At what point are you just going to shoot our YouTube show on iPhones?
Not for a little bit, yeah. I still like to stack too much stuff on there. But the amount, every year I'm using more iPhone footage in our show. Like barely an episode goes by where there's not a few iPhone clips sprinkled in there. And almost back in the day, everybody would be like, time code 136, GoPro or iPhone, question mark. No one notices anymore.
Yeah.
Like the Apple log is so good. You can cross-cut it with a whole bunch of different cameras very easily.
This does remind me of another update we got, though. There is up to a 2 terabyte model now.
Oh, that's right. All base models are 256 gigs now is like your minimum storage. But yes, 2 terabyte on the Pros.
Only in the Pro Max is what I heard.
Okay.
I mean, I heard that.
Yeah, they said at the end 2 terabyte Pro Max exclusive. At this
Which
point.
is that's. I don't think they've had a breakout between the Pro and the Pro Max.
It used to be the lens. So to do it in
exactly.
storage is really interesting now. A way of differentiating
But 2 terabytes, that's a narrow market. I don't know, like.
Of how many people need it? Yeah.
Less people will get that than 1 terabyte.
If you're like, I only do open gate from now on, that 2 terabytes, that is going to be very useful.
You might want that for sure. Yeah. I'm trying to think of how this is going to change my life as a photographer. I'm eager to play with the new lens. Maybe night, like low light quality might get a little bit better. I mean, certainly on the telephoto lens, but that was kind of a low bar. But like,
it might just be using the telephoto more, like that.
Yeah.
If it turns out,
if it's less of a difference when I can tell immediately when I use the 5x lens on mine, like, oh yeah, that's a telephoto shot when I'm going through my library. If it blends better with my other ones, then I'm absolutely going to lean on it
for portraits, especially. Yeah, I think there might be benefits there.
The one thing too is they had a really fast main camera sensor last year, and we've confirmed that the ultra wide and the telephoto are going to be the slower write speed, so they're not going to support 4K 120. It also means they won't be able to stack as many images as quickly for frame blending, which means there might be more of an image quality difference.
So your main
there
camera is
as
still going to be your main image.
If that's the speedy one,
Right.
From a handling standpoint, we have the return of the camera control button. I played with that a lot. So I know everybody's like a funny look. Like, do you guys use that? I of course played with it, and I was like, this is cool. Double tap, you can slide. And then I just started realizing this right here works pretty good. I just
you already had it figured out all along.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I use it as a shutter button, or maybe customize for something else. But are you guys gonna use that?
I just feel like the only right answer is to turn all of the sliding features off right away.
Yeah.
And then I do still use it as a shutter and a camera launcher.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't rely on it super heavily, but I like it. It's good to be there. But
It's nice to have a button placed there.
Yes,
Yeah.
And I talk to people that are addicted to it that are like, yes, this is how I launch my camera now.
And
Really?
do they do the
I don't know.
scrollies?
No,
'Cause
that nobody
it
says
could
they
just-
use.
Yeah, because I do use like my action button launches Final Cut camera for my video, and then that one is my camera button.
Exactly, that's how I
that
do
works
it.
really well for me. But yeah, then I will forget to disable the touchy touch, and it'll rear its ugly head every once in a while. And I think I have to do that again right now, actually.
I got to figure that out. I honestly don't use it very much at all, other than the trigger. I mean, I've got I have like a layer of credit cards hanging below when I'm taking pictures, so I don't know if that changes anything, but yeah, I got to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, my big takeaway from this, I kind of touched on it right near the start, is just the different philosophy Apple seems to have compared to the other phones that are available in North America, which are all about AI things. And they definitely talked about like AI assistant,
talk about that, yeah.
but not a word about generative AI in this.
No.
They're like, our processor can do it.
Yeah.
We're not going to show it to you because it tends to give people the heebie-jeebies.
And that's interesting too. So, so a lot of the comments right off the bat were like, "Oh, we're at the launch party," and people are like, "Oh, it's gonna be AI," and yeah, we didn't hear that word. Like
When it comes to the cameras, I'm really glad. Like I want them to keep the camera app separate from AI forever. I don't think that's the place for it. If you want to edit afterwards, I'm not opposed to that at all. I use generative removal tools all the time.
Yeah, they're great.
Totally, there's a big place to clean up your images with AI. But we should also have a moment where, like, right after the photo's taken, you know what was in the photo. Like, it was
Right.
true at some point, And that's one thing I was hoping for, is that we'd get some kind of data verification.
That's exactly. I was
Yeah,
really surprised they didn't launch
C2PA, something
C2PA
like that.
support.
I kind of thought it would happen like at WWDC. Like I've been waiting for a while. It feels late now. It should have already happened.
It is interesting. So, I mean, I guess the couple assumptions we make. Last year, they did talk about AI. They talked about some new changes and benefits that you can use with AI. And so this year, we didn't mention it all. So that first off makes me think it's going to be very similar to what we already have. But Google and Samsung are going like hard in the paint on AI. Absolutely. To the point of creating things that aren't even there as part of your camera, which isn't. I'm not criticizing. I'm just like
I'm criticizing.
Okay.
I'm happy to criticize.
Sure. I'm just trying to keep an open mind about what interesting potential. I know you're not. What interesting potential is out there to harness that kind of technology.
Well, I'm glad there is a company experimenting.
Sure. Yes.
I'm using the one that's more conservative, but somebody's
Yes.
messing around. I love that.
Yeah. But I mean, it's interesting that now we're really seeing these paths diverge, and I think in a positive way.
Well, what I find interesting, like you touched on the C2PA thing, is how people are planning to use it, because it was Samsung saying, we will tag AI generated things with this C2PA. And then we see with the new Pixel.
The little watermark.
Yeah, they're like, every image is tagged with this now, so you can identify AI images. I'm really, because I think the main benefit of that is this is a photo that was an original capture from a camera as a starting point, so which seems to be what Apple's really fixated on, which makes it all the more surprising. Like maybe they wouldn't join a group with a bunch of other people,
That's
but
my
to start their own
assumption.
standard, I think is something
you
we'll
think
see
so?
very soon.
I was just thinking while you were talking about that, I'm like, it'd be interesting if on Instagram and stuff, it just showed you an icon saying like this photo shot on Apple, with the sort of marketing idea that, then people are like, then it's not going to be ridiculous, right?
All I want is something that's like not modified yet. Like
Right yet. Or like lightly modified, like modified light.
Yeah, there's just a little scale that like ticks up as it's been edited.
like a fire hazard sign.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
This photo is yellow
Actually,
territory,
that would
this is
not
green,
be.
this is
That would be kind of useful.
Well, I mean, it's hard. I think people are in a situation where it's hard to trust what you're seeing photographically online. It's hard to see what you can trust video-wise.
I know
online.
even a couple years ago, like this was even happening in the U.S. court system, where people were talking about like, an image from your iPhone, it has AI in it. And what they're talking about is HDR,
Right.
which is not AI. Like nothing is fake in the image. It is just
It's just frame blending.
Frame blending is an old technique that is not generating anything new. And we just need to draw that line of like, there is something different when the computer's making something up, right?
Sure.
When it's guessing, we're in a different universe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, I feel like this year we've had a totally different design change. The Air is going to be something we haven't really seen before, so that's pretty cool to have that ultra thin design. A very different intention for creators. Now these Pro phones, which have some pretty exciting video features. Yeah. Anything else that you guys want to put out there about this?
I think the interesting, like, it's great to see new hardware, but we're still not quite hitting kind of the hardware heights of some of the Chinese phones. Like, what they're like a brand new telephoto. And, you know, there's some like big sensor ones with real telephoto reach and stuff out there. They are still only looking at, like, it seems to be what's in available in North America. Obviously, Samsung isn't from here. But I think the three of them just keep looking at each other. And it would be nice to see some inspiration maybe drawn on the hardware side from outside. So we're going to keep hearing the comments whenever we review this of like, well, you're not paying attention to what China's doing. Well, no, because it's annoying for us to use those phones. Yeah. But there is another world where they could look out and say like, oh, this is actually possible with the same fundamental design that we have on smartphones.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many rumors, right? Like, oh, they're going to go with a really big sensor, maybe put like a variable aperture in it, that kind of stuff. Right. Yeah. I mean,
glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, that never made sense.
Yeah.
But I guess we could still say, like, it's a good point. North American available phones tend to have this plateau when it comes to hardware. Again, a new camera is nice to see. I've got
a good tip based on last year. I've made a few videos about this, but I know people still aren't aware of this. If you want your photos to look amazing and feel like a regular camera, you might already be shooting RAW, right? Like Apple Pro RAW is a great way to kind of get more traditional photography out of your phone. But the files are huge. They're like 70 megabytes per. Starting on the iPhone 16 Pro, you could switch it to a lossy DNG, which is using JPEG XL as the compression format. Yeah. It is still a DNG. It is RAW. It is a RAW file. It is not compressed. It's not a JPEG.
Easily editable as well.
But it's like more like 20 megabytes or a little less sometimes. So way smaller files. And suddenly you can be shooting RAW much more often. Just like flip that one thing and RAW stops feeling like such a burden, and you can do it a lot more on your phone.
Or just get the 2 terabyte storage.
What are you being so cheap for? Just
honestly, most people, if they want better pictures, should just clean their lenses. That's always the answer.
We do have that new feature on iOS 26 where it's supposed to warn you. So I want to try that one out.
Okay, so really quickly, what's your favorite feature right now on these new phones?
I'm so glad you asked. The best thing is that they went to a 4 times zoom lens because there was rumors it was going to go further. I don't want to zoom further. 4 is perfect. 5 was a little too far. 3 wasn't quite enough. So now if you want, you can also crop into it because it's a bigger sensor, get 8 times, but generally
this is your
it's a 4X.
Lens. Yeah. Okay. The feature that I found more interesting is actually not something I'm probably going to use very much, but it's the fact that we have these new front-facing selfie cameras that are square sensor, giving you the option to reframe, better stabilization, go vertical, go horizontal, without changing the phone orientation. I think a lot of people are going to find that very useful. A lot of creators are going to love that.
Boxier is beautifuler, and that's why I'm really excited with the ProRes RAW, which they talked about a lot, gives you more flexibility in post, but you can record open gate with that, so you'll actually use the whole sensor area. You can really reframe after the fact. It's only going to be available in the ProRes RAW option, and I don't know why they didn't talk about it more on the 17
Now
watch.
I'm going to be waiting for square sensors everywhere.
Yes.
That's the future.
I just want everything to shoot square. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for this, and thanks for inviting me. Always great to have you with us in the room. This is fantastic.
Tyler, where can people find you? Where's your stuff?
I'm so glad you asked. I mean, they could Google Tyler Stalman and they'll find all of it. But I'm on YouTube most of all.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and Instagram.
And
Threads.
TikTok,
if you want to hear about these rants,
chatty on Threads.
What happened to JPEG XL? It was big news, and now 0 people talking about it.
That's all I'm going to be talking about.
Perfect. Thanks for joining us.
Google JPEG XL. You'll find Tyler Stalman. All you're gonna find.